Hello everyone, and for today we have another franchise to test, which is one of my most favorite franchises ever basically. So as you saw from the settings, most of these settings are maxed out, except I haven't used SSAA. Now the reason for that is because I'm using 4K resolution, and if anyone doesn't know, SSAA is basically a downsampling technique. So if I use 4x SSAA at 4K resolution, in reality I will use 8K resolution, which will be downsampled to my monitor. So yeah, it's completely useless for 4K resolutions and above. It can be useful for 1080p, maybe 1440p, but I wouldn't recommend for 4040p. Because not only I cannot see the difference, literally, but also it is very demanding. You know, you can imagine rendering 8K resolution is of course going to be demanding, so yeah, it's just not worth and useless for 4K and above resolutions. And of course motion blur is off, as always. Now for this video I used several chapters, so check out the description down below. You will see timestamps for each one. So yeah, let's begin from the beginning, of course. Now, firstly, I would like to emphasize how good this game still looks. Like, can you believe this game is 12 or 8 years old? Well, I'm saying the different age because it is technically a remaster, but it's still very impressive graphically. And looking at the CPU usage is actually very surprising that this game and all other Metro games can utilize all my 32 threads of my CPU. So this is one of those few games that can actually do it. Of course there will be a single CPU bottleneck somewhere, because it still relies on single CPU thread in some scenes, but yeah, the fact that it can utilize all 32 for being such an old game is very impressive.
Suki, here they come.
Also, you can notice in this video that there's something wrong with the shell casings and other debris floating in the air, but after restarting this game I checked it and it was running fine, so yeah, it's just bugged for some reason, so feel free to ignore that. If anyone haven't played this franchise yet, I highly recommend doing it. And I recommend starting from the first one, this one. You start from 2033 Redux version, then the Last Light and Metro Exodus, which I will also test on my channel. I will test the Enhanced Edition instead. But let's get back to this game instead for now. And yeah, I played this franchise very recently because I wanted to get to the Exodus with fresh memories, because it's been a while since I played this game. And yeah, even though I remember the story, I still had a lot of fun, and it's just, I can't really recommend enough this game.
Roger, we'll contact you again when we're at the top of the tower. Get a fix on our location.
Glad to see you, Colonel. Did you hear that? Listen. What the hell is it? Form a circle!
Now I wanted to include this section because it is very demanding. If I remember correctly, it is one of the most demanding scenes from the CPU, but also it looks amazing with these lasers and these goggles or night vision. So yeah, it looks amazing, and just take a look at the CPU utilization. And though I said that it can utilize all 32 threads of my CPU, you can clearly see that I'm still somewhat slightly limited by it. Check out the GPU usage, it's just jumping a little bit below 98% sometimes, even though the utilization across all CPU threads are pretty equal, so it's still limited by some single CPU thread performance, but I'm not sure what's that in detail. Either single CPU performance or memory bandwidth is just hard to know.
All right, let's go. You'll be out soon. We all will be.
Don't worry. This cage will belong to them soon enough. I only wish we could see.
Tired of you all. I wish they had just shot you.
Welcome to Polis, Captain Krasnov. You've come a long way, young man. Where exactly are you from?
He's from the exhibition.
What, can't he speak for himself?
Look, Captain, it's the kid's first time in Polis. He's been through hell getting here, and he's carrying
Bullets
Hunter's message
exchange!
for Miller. So, cut him some slack, huh?
All right, get changed. There's the
Come,
clothes.
look, try
You
and
can leave your
buy.
gear. It'll be safe here.
You won't find
We'll
better
get it back
rates in the whole
sparkling
metro.
clean.
You go ahead and take some rest, Artyom, and I'll go find Miller. I hope he's not out on a mission.
By the way, don't forget to scrub yourself down in the lobby, old man.
I won't. You pain in the ass.
Would you rather have two-headed kids?
Special offers, discounts.
Idiot.
Best guns from the Forge Masters.
Now this scene is called Frontlines, and looking back and forth in Polis and in this section, I really don't know which one is more demanding from the CPU. Now you probably noticed that I'm speaking mostly about CPU and its usage in this video because it is very interesting for me personally, revisiting old or newer games and checking out how it reacts to newer hardware, especially the one that has many CPU cores and threads, such as 5950X. As opposed to GPU utilization, it's pretty much self-explanatory, in my opinion. You have VRAM allocation, VRAM usage, and GPU usage, and it's pretty much, if there's no CPU bottleneck, it will spit out as many frames as it can. So for CPU it's a little bit different because it really depends on single CPU threads, on per core latency, memory bandwidth, and it's just, in my opinion, more interesting than GPU utilization. So yeah, for future videos keep in mind that I'm mostly interested in CPU utilization instead of GPU. But if there is something interesting to comment on other specifications, I will do so, of course. And as you can see from this floating debris, for some reason physics in this video specifically just took a dump, so yeah, just ignore that. As I said, I tested after this video and it was fine, so yeah, it's just weird bug. So and for the last section, I'm testing benchmark tool, which is located in directory of this game, so you cannot find it easily from the Steam interface. You have to go to the game directory to find it. So in my opinion, it is one of the better benchmarks because it stresses not only GPU but also CPU. So yeah, you'll see the GPU utilization sometimes dropping below 98%. And the CPU usage is quite high actually, up to 30% in some areas, so for a 10-year-old game it is very impressive. So I wanted to thank everyone for kind comments in each video. I really appreciate it, so yeah, thank you. As always, thank you very much for watching and see you next time.